This is the Jedburgh podcast. I'm the creator and host, Fran Racioppi. Each episode, I speak with transformative leaders, visionaries, drivers of change, and those dedicated to winning, no matter the challenge. The Jedburgh podcast is founded in the lineage of the special operations Jedburgh teams of the past and is produced in partnership with Talent War Group, a management consulting and executive search firm focused on helping you optimize the people side of your business. We're sponsored by Jersey Mike's Subs. Together, we share the mission of giving, making a difference in someone's life. Visit the Jedburgh podcast, Talent War Group, and Jersey Mike's Subs on the web and on social media. A percentage of all proceeds is dedicated to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. The highest performing teams are built on trust and integrity. Without these two foundational components, it's almost impossible to find success. On the best teams, you often have to have the best teammates. The best teammates usually become best friends. Sean Lake and Glen Daugherty grew up best friends. They were roommates. They were teammates. They chased each other around the world as they pursued adventure. They looked for the next challenge, and almost nothing seemed insurmountable. Glen became a Navy SEAL. Sean became a professional athlete and a marketing executive at Burton Snowboards and DC Shoes. In 2012, Glen lost his life in Libya defending American interests and freedom. To honor Glen's legacy and his commitment to their team, Sean helped launch the Glen Daugherty Memorial Foundation. In 2017, Sean took it a step further and launched a line of nutritional supplements called BUBS Naturals. Glen's nickname was Bub. Sean and I met at the GoRuck games in Sandlot Jax down in Jacksonville last month. I was inspired by his story, and I was inspired by the relationship that he had with Glen and how he has remained committed to that relationship years after Glen's death. So I asked Sean to hop into the back of the Land Rover Ambulance with me to talk about Glen, their life together as extreme athletes, the importance of collagen protein and MCT oil, and what it means to truly live in the service of others. Check out our videos and pictures from this episode and the entire Sandlot Jax event on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Find all our episodes on our website or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you there. Sean, welcome to the Jedburgh podcast. Thanks for joining us for a few minutes.
Fran, thanks for having me on. This is great.
Dude, Sandlot Jax, it's crazy. I mean, we came down here, we started this, we decided we're going to do this activation. We started looking at everyone who was coming in and who was going to be vendors, who was going to be speakers, the guest list. And as we've sat here on Friday, it just opened, right? So it opened 1 o'clock today, or a few hours into this thing. And every time I get out of here, there's more and more people who are coming through the gates and they're starting to make their way. But you guys are set up here, BUBS Naturals. I'm drinking my coffee here. We've injected it with the collagen. But talk to me about BUBS. What brought you down here?
Yeah, so BUBS Brew, that's what you're drinking right now. You've got a cold brew with collagen protein and MCT oil powder. So you're taking coconut oil, a high-fat oil, and you spray it into tapioca starch. So your coffee looks like a nice, heavy cream, delicious brew there, and it's loaded with functionality. And that's kind of why we're here. So I discovered the benefits of collagen protein. I discovered it when I was 45 years old. I'm 51 now. And when I was 45...
You don't look 51.
I see that.
I'll tell you that right now. I hope I look like you at 51.
And there's a lot of miles on the body. So, but this is where collagen...
If this does it, I'm putting it in everything right now.
That's it. That's the hook. Feel like you're 30 the rest of your life. So no, I discovered collagen at 45. My wife and I had our first child. She was pregnant with our second, and she famously came home one day and had a jar of this stuff called collagen. And she said, "Hun, you're not getting any younger, and I need to preserve your old ass. So
trade your ass in.
You're going to take this, and this is going to preserve you." And I looked at the jar, and I said, okay, what's in this stuff? Like, we don't take any supplements in our house. You know, a little bit of whey protein, a little plant proteins, like, you know, but it's mostly diet. And I looked at it, I'm like, hair benefits, skin benefits, nails. And I'm like, are you sure this isn't for you? And I turned the jar, and then it says joint health, gut health. I'm like, all right, that's interesting. I signed me up for the joint health. Like, you know, I'm 45. I used to snowboard for a living. I've run marathons. My wife's run 9 of them. And
how many have you run? You lose count?
One.
What? No, you haven't lost count. Which one did you run?
I actually ran the Boston Marathon.
Nice. Yes. Good. And we talked about it. You're from Boston.
I am. I was born in Gloucester, raised in Winchester, Massachusetts, and I got an opportunity to get a charity bib in 2014.
Nice.
To run for the Glen Daugherty Memorial Foundation, and we'll talk about Glen, in a little bit. But my wife and I ran the Boston Marathon together while we were engaged, and it became the training and the running was kind of part of our premarital counseling. like the counseling you do. Like, if I can run a marathon with this girl, then I can marry her. And I think she was thinking the same thing. So we ran Boston together, and she's done a gazillion of them by comparison, and we keep fitness and wellness real close to the family, just because we like being active. I can't sit still very long, and I want the body that can still maintain and perform. So at 45, I was feeling it. I had the wear and tear. I was like, man, I'm not squatting like I used to. I'm not swinging the kettlebell like I used to. Like, all the things. I'm not surfing like I feel like I could. Snowboarding, you name it. So I'm like, I will try this powder if it's going to help with my joints. Long story short, I take it for a month. At the end of the first month, my fingernails are growing like I'm the Wolverine. Like, it's bananas. I'm like, what's going on here? A week later, I needed a haircut. And, I only have so much hair, but the fact that I needed the haircut was like 2 data points. And I'm like, this is written right on the side of the jar. 6 weeks into it, I get out of bed. I'll never forget this. We had to fly from San Diego to Boston with a 1-year-old, and try and put yourself in that amount of crap.
Oh no, I know. I just did it with the whole family to Colorado in February, and I was like, we're that family.
Yeah.
Like, we're that family with all the bags and the screaming kids and my son he's 2 with the dinosaur beating the window. I'm like, yeah, we're that family.
Yep. I was that version of that. Combined with the pain of sitting in the back of the plane. I'm 6'3".
yeah, you're taller than me. You're way bigger.
So we leave and we're getting off the airplane, and I'm grabbing the bags and grabbing the kid and grabbing everything, all the things, and I'm walking out, and I'm like, holy shit, Heather, my wife, nothing hurts. She's like, that's nice, dear. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Except my ego with all these people looking at it.
Aside from that,
yeah,
I'm a little bit of pain there, but my knees didn't hurt, and I'm constantly in pain. And that was the life state that I had. I was just like, I'm going to be in discomfort, and I'm just going to grin, bear it, and charge through. It is what it is. And I wasn't. And I was like, I had one of those oh shit moments. And I celebrated it with her. I was excited, and she was just like, that's nice. And I'm like, no, this is why you got this stuff for me. And since then, it's just gotten better and better and better. So I started a routine. And then I started learning about collagen. Like, what is in this stuff? Oh, it's just ground up cowhide. That's all it is. And not only is it ground up cowhide, it's got this amino acid profile that's in most of your standard proteins. But the amount of the amino acids that's in collagen is through the roof. So I'm getting 4 grams of glycine in every scoop of collagen. Well, glycine is the amino acid that helps produce synovial fluid. Synovial fluid cushions and lubricates your joints. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't make that connection. Well, how would I? And so the more I learned about it, I just fell in love with it. You met TJ earlier. Yep. He's my business partner. TJ is, an e-commerce mastermind, and I come from a more traditional sports marketing background. Comes over to the house one day, sees the jar of collagen, and he just looks at me and he's like, oh, you take that stuff? And I start raving, just like to you. I'm like, it's the best thing.
You're like, I don't only take it, I live by it.
I live for this stuff. And again, I'm not that guy. So for me to endorse something and get excited about it, it took that very personal experience, that transformation to get really dialed on it. And he just looks at me and he goes, oh, we should start a company. I'm like, yeah, man. I got a 1-year-old. My wife's pregnant. You want to start a company? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, sure. What would a company look like? And he turns to me and we both look at each other and we go, well, whatever we do, we got to do something cool for charity. Opening line. And I just looked at him. I said, well, I know the charity. It's got to be the Glen Daugherty Memorial Foundation. It's got to be Glen's charity. Well, Glen, he was a Navy SEAL, served 10 years. His call sign in the Navy was BUB. So we'll name the company BUBS Naturals as a tribute to Glen and his way of life. This guy that stood for self-improvement and he was always helping others. So every product we make will somehow improve the self, right? It could be our MCT oil with mental focus and the energy you get from that product, the collagen for all the stuff we've talked about on repair for the body, and on and on and on. And we'll give 10% of all profits to his charity, to charities in his name. And the Glen Daugherty Foundation was, let's get them up and rock and rolling. And it just felt right.
Yeah. And Glenn, for those who don't know, was killed in Benghazi.
Yeah. So he was one of the Navy SEALs that was killed in Benghazi, Libya, 9/11 in 2012 to 9/12, like that whole chapter. Hillary Clinton got in a whole bunch of trouble. There was a movie, 13 Hours.
Ambassador Stevens was killed. Mm-hmm.
Yep. There was a CIA, like an intelligence analyst, I think. There was Glenn, and there was his teammate Tyrone Woods. And so, obviously the movie kind of does its thing to kind of Hollywoodize the whole experience. But I lost my roommate, my best buddy. We grew up together in Winchester, Massachusetts. We moved out to Utah to go be pro skiers. So yeah, I grew up skiing. I switched to snowboarding. I was in love with it. It was my true passion. I was so energized around these adrenaline sports, whether it was skateboarding, snowboarding, like you name it. I wanted to scare the shit out of myself and go run in that direction. Yeah. Glenn was the same way. So my best buddy and I drop out of college, tell our parents, by the way, never a good idea. You want to shatter some dreams, tell your parents you're dropping out of college to become a pro skier or a snowboarder. And we moved to Utah. So we moved up to Snowbird, Utah, and we lived there on and off, like chasing the mountain dreams for about 5 years.
I've always had that dream to do that. I never pulled the trigger on it.
It was awesome. Little note to everyone, though, who does do that. Your parents don't pay for college anymore. You're on your own.
You're on your own. Yeah,
So we're turning 25, and my best friend, literally, like we've had all these adventures together since we were in middle school. He turns to me and he says, if I haven't made it as a pro skier by the time I'm 25, I'm going to join the Navy and become a SEAL. Now, this is in 1994.
Neither one of these being lofty goals.
No, neither one. Right? Like, not shooting for the moon.
Yeah.
But this is when everyone's watching movies on VHS. So we watched the Navy SEALs movie with Charlie Sheen.
Which is the only reason back then you even knew what a Navy SEAL was, Yeah,
thanks, Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, for the intro.
Everybody jumps off of a bridge out of a Jeep Wrangler when they have a pager.
Duh. So next thing you know, we turn 25, and I am like in the height of like the sponsored life. Like I'm getting free boxes of clothes and a paycheck, and like everything's great. And then Glenn, it was a bad time to be a skier in the 90s. Like unless you were, Blake or someone, like you weren't getting paid. So he's like, drive me to the recruiter. He was dead serious. I'm like, serious about this? So next thing I know, I drive him down to Sandy, Utah. There's a naval recruiter, or there was, and in a little strip mall. And he goes up, signs up. A month later, he's off to basic. And, half a year later, or almost a year later, I'm down in Coronado at his BUBS graduation with a bunch of our ski bum buddies, which, by the way, great visual. A bunch of dudes with, like, dyed hair and shaggy locks rolling into the grinder to watch your buddy get, go through his BUBS graduation.
Well, in my mind, I'm thinking that's a lot of beer. That group drank a lot of beer.
There's a lot of beer that weekend. I just remember being there, and I remember leaving. But there's a lot of stuff in between.
Yeah, it could have involved a carjacking and a fight at some point, too. But we're not talking about it.
I say nothing. Pleading the fifth. So Glenn serves 10 years in the Navy. We reconnect. He lives in Coronado. When I got done snowboarding for a living, I got hired by Burton Snowboards to move to Encinitas, California, to work with a young teenager named Sean White.
Never heard of him.
And so this little kid, he was going to do some things with a snowboard.
Yeah.
And so I go from graduating from college, thinking I'm going to go on a career path, and then I get pulled back into snowboarding on the industry side. And granted, it was a job I knew. Boy, you've been a snowboarder, so what can it be like to work with the snowboarders? And this young kid named Sean, who was being groomed to be this next great, figure in the sport.
The greatest.
And he's awesome. So I got to work with him 20 years ago. And, you know, it was 02, 03. And then that kind of put me in this career path of working in the action sports industry. So I worked with ESPN for a while with their X Games franchise. I worked with Tony Hawk and like the Secret Skate Park tours. I got to do all these really super fun travel jobs. And then I landed 6 years working with DC Shoes, launching their whole snow program and BMX and moto and surf, like all the sports that I'm jazzed about. And all the while, my best buddy's, you know, deploying to Iraq, and he's going through like his whole naval career right down the street. And then he moves up to Encinitas. Next thing you know, like we're high five. Next thing you know, we're roommates again. And it's like, hey, we got the band back together. And then Benghazi happened, and that changed everything. You know, on a more somber note, like Glenn and I, we left our wills to each other. I was the executor of his estate. Like, you know, all the legal stuff that comes along with that you never think's going to happen. Yeah. So it was like a formality. Like, yeah, you get all my debt. Sure, you get all my debt. Like, have fun with this. Take all my friends and go and have a wild party. Like, that kind of stuff. And then it did.
Right.
So the brand, the experience, was born out of this innate desire that is shared by hundreds of individuals that knew Glenn personally, that never wanted to let his memory fade, because he was inspirational. Yes, he was a national hero. Yes, but way more than that, he was your best friend. And I don't mean like my best friend. I mean, if you knew him and you guys cracked a beer, Fran, he's your best friend.
Yeah.
And he would remember you. He would keep in touch with you. He was that guy that is not your archetype, like special operations person that you think of in the movies. He is literally the guy who's going to help you move some furniture, tell you a joke, drink all your beer, and you're going to have a blast with him. So the brand is, you know, a way of memorializing the fun qualities that he stood for, the inspirational qualities that we all have those inside of us. He did a really good job of bringing them out in people. So, you know, we got started, and next thing you know, I meet Jason McCarthy, the folks at GoRuck, and when he told me about this event, we were already kind of figuring out ways we could do stuff together. Yeah. But now that we're here, like we're in Jacksonville, we're surrounded by hundreds of incredibly fit humans, and the people that he's gathered himself, the tribe of wellness that we're in, we weren't going to miss that opportunity.
Yeah. The community, watching the community come out in this thing has been truly inspirational and amazing. I mean, it's been nonstop. I mean, and everybody has come in with that perspective of I'm here because I care about fitness, but I care about becoming better. But it's a commitment to come down to Jacksonville to do this.
Yes.
And I think that speaks to the passion that this community has. And when you walk around here, this honestly, and I can say this because I live in the Northeast, and you're from Boston too, you know, we're not always the most friendly people.
Nope.
But here, it's like you are overwhelmed with the outgoing community that has been created.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I got sized up at the airport. I was going to my gate with a GoRuck backpack, and I look at the other guy, and I'm like, oh, he knows. Like, we're in the same tribe. It reminded me of CrossFit from 2008.
Yeah.
Like, we were kind of early into the whole CrossFit world, and I remember, like, you'd see someone wearing a CrossFit T-shirt, and you'd be like, we're brothers. Yeah. And that reminded me of what skateboarding was like in the 80s and snowboarding was like in the 90s. Like, it's very tribal. It's, you know, it's inclusive if you're in the tribe.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, you do what I do. Like, we understand each other. And fitness on a broad level, it just means you're ticking some boxes. Fitness, when you get, you know, focused on maybe some disciplines, that's where community comes into play. And you know, CrossFit did an amazing job of that. They brought humans together from all different walks of life. The corporate banker is working out next to the stonemason, or like, you know, or the carpenter, and everyone's equal on that floor. Everyone is motivated, and everyone genuinely cares about what's going on in that small room for those 60 minutes or like whatever the setting is. And what Jason has captured here with GoRuck is he's scaled that to a degree by combining what you do with a weighted backpack.
Right.
What do you do with an obstacle course that you could maybe test yourself on? What do you do with F45? What do you do with CrossFit? And
I've been listening to F45 over here all day. They've been awesome. They're coming on tomorrow.
I got to think so. I mean, again, you've got a group that's saying, hey, look what you can do in 45 functional minutes. Like, I get it. I mean, I wanted 3-minute abs, but
it's way better than 6
I'm kidding,
minutes.
guys. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But the idea of that and how it's pulling people together is fascinating. It's like, I wouldn't have met you.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
we wouldn't have met if we weren't just bumping into each other at a show like this. And, the opportunity to share, not only like, hey, we're here because we want to share the message that BUBS has as a complement to that space where people are genuinely interested in their wellness and they have a feel for community. And I'm going to go ahead and even level that up and say there's a sense of service that goes past that too.
There's affiliation to the regiment. Jason talked about that in episode 56. So that came out yesterday. We interviewed Jason and we talked a lot about that because Jason and I share the background of coming from 10th Special Forces group.
Yeah.
And I think there's a level of a standard. We talk a lot about this standard, and you have to live up to the regiment and the expectations of the regiment. And I think that permeates throughout GoRuck and everyone who is affiliated with GoRuck. And it comes down to the other concept, and Sarah Wilkinson talked about this in our episode with her that went out a couple weeks ago. Hard things bond people together, and Jevy Stone, an Olympic silver medalist who I interviewed several months ago, said it too, that easy things bring people together, hard things bond people together.
Yeah. And I mean, when you think about those hard moments that we all have, you can choose hard moments or you can choose easy moments. And when you realize that when you choose a hard moment, you're truly seeing what you're capable of, it unlocks a whole world of potential and future, that whole community and stickiness, because there's other people that have done it or want to do it. You can become a tool of inspiration. You can become a support network for others. And I mean, you're going to see what you're made of. Yeah. Most importantly, it's got to start here, right? It's got to come from inside here. And then once you recognize that and see that, and you can, like, it's scalable. Like, it's scalable to your family, to your community. Like, it brings you an energy that I would dare say until you've done that, you don't know, because you haven't challenged yourself. So, you can step out of the unknown. And even if you fail, and you're going to fail, like, there's failure throughout.
I would argue you have to fail.
Yeah.
Because you don't truly understand your limits until you fail.
Yep. And then you just got a new goal.
Yeah.
Right? You just got a whole new thing. Like, I'll never forget snowboarding, and there was this one cliff that I wanted to jump at Snowbird, and I just got like 4 different names, but it took me 5 years. 5 years.
5 years.
And right towards the end of my career, I nailed it. I got it. It was the one. Check, got it. Like, I got this. And I was like, cool, man. And for those of you that are snowboard geeks, it's called Smokestack. It's right under the tram, and it's a big mother. And like, it took all that time to get there to do that. Well, that was me getting introduced to running, the humblingness of like just sucking at running. Running, like the most basic human activity.
No, it's tough. I mean, you're a big guy, and it sucks to run. I rode at Boston University.
There you go.
And I didn't run for 4 years, and then I went into the Army after I graduated.
Yeah.
And that summer between rowing and going into the Army in October, that was an emotional time.
Yep.
Because there was about 0 fast twitch muscles left in my body.
Yeah. I mean, on the Charles, though, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is your guide. Again, for those that know. So that, I mean, that's exactly it. Like, you're training yourself, and you have to suck, and then gradually, you learn a new skill, or you relearn a skill that or you get more efficient. Like, there's a whole process that is applicable to all these different parts of your life. I did a GoRuck. My very first GoRuck, my only GoRuck, was in 2019, and I did it with a guy named Reed Rowe, who you met. He's the Deputy Director of Counterterrorism for the FBI. Reed met me through our chat room online, like at BUBS, like asking a bunch of questions. again, it's those learning new things. It's being willing to suck at something. So like Glenn, for my part, like when I got done working at Burton, I was probably the least fit of my adult life. Like, I'm in my early 30s. I remember like going on vacation to Mexico, and I looked down and I just got a little paunch.
Oh yeah, you're like, I don't even want to take my shirt off.
Ooh, what's that thing? Oh my God. And Glenn's like, you're gonna start running, and you're gonna buy a bicycle, and you're gonna start riding. Because he's like picking things that he's like, you should be good at these things. You're gonna learn how to row. And I'm like, what? Rowing? I don't have a boat. And he's like, no, man, you're gonna get on an erg.
No, I'll give you something way worse than a boat. It's called an erg.
Yeah. We're now friends with Greg Hammond at Concept 2.
Are you really?
And like, he's a buddy.
We gotta have them on.
Dude, he's awesome. And but he also like he makes a living off of making pain machines.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I have a few words for him.
Yeah, we all do. And I've met these people along the way. Whether it was, start with the running, do your first 10K. And it's like, oh, these are big moments. Like, it was a 5K first, then it was a 10K. Then it was a half marathon. Then it was the world of CrossFit. And each one just got me hooked more and more and more. And, there's vanity in it. Like, hey, I want to look good and, like, like walk around and be muscly. But it was the engine. It was what was on the inside. And it makes you want to keep peeling back the onion. So in 2008, I discovered CrossFit. Glenn and I were doing it at a local YMCA in Encinitas. Now, try and imagine two spazzes trying to do kipping pull-ups, where you're moving back and forth in a family gym. Then we're like, oh, what's this handstand push-up? It's on the internet here. And we're flipping up against the wall, and people are looking at it like we're absolute maniacs. And then Glenn and I were working out one day, and then he goes, hey, did you know that there's a gym in Encinitas owned by a Navy SEAL? I'm like, no, there is? He's like, yeah, it's called SEAL Fit. It's owned by Mark Devine. He's a former SEAL. I'm a SEAL. You're friends with a SEAL. We got to go there. So we roll into Mark Devine's gym, and Mark is like the founder of Unbeatable Mind, and he does a bunch of like mental resiliency programming, and roll in this little gym in the middle of Encinitas, and next thing you know, we join this gym called SEAL Fit. And we're doing these workouts, and each workout is really hard. Like, I couldn't do them. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I just got humbled again. Like, I discovered the running and the cycling thing. I felt the rowing thing. Like, I thought I was on top of the world, and now, like, I can't do any of this stuff. What an opportunity. And yeah, it sucked, and I'm pissed off, and I've got ego and all those things involved, but I'm willing to be a student of that. Wellness, all the diet, nutrition, community, like, it's all woven together. It's really neat how you can do that, and kind of tying back to like what's here, like that broader sense of fitness. Like, you want to show up at a ski resort, and I'm pretty sure if it snows 18 inches, you want to go and bookend that day.
Oh, absolutely.
And get as many runs in as possible.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be the guy who can't hang.
Yep.
It's worth it for that alone.
Oh,
or chasing your kids around.
Yeah.
It's worth it for that alone. Like that, probably even more so now, is like, I want to be able to chase my kids. I want to be able to keep up with their adventures and their lives and their interests and their excitement. I don't want to be that dad on the sidelines like, can't do it. Go have fun.
Yeah, no, I think about that all the time. My daughter's 12. She's playing lacrosse every day. Let's go out and play lacrosse. And I actually think I can catch and throw better now than I could when I played lacrosse. And honestly, because I'm actually doing it now, right? Like back then when I played lacrosse, it was like, it was like I felt like it was some sort of chore, and it was difficult for me to figure out catching and throwing. I was really good at playing defense, because they're like, just stand here in front of the goal. Anybody comes in here, you just knock them down. Yeah, okay, I can do that all day long.
You got this giant stick, just whack them.
Yeah, beat them with this stick, knock them down if they come in here. All right, no problem at all. But now it's like, I'm like catch and throwing with her every day. But I feel that same way. I mean, my son's 2, and I'm thinking about what he's going to be doing, and it's like, all right, yeah, because I'll be, when my son's my daughter's age, I'll be your age.
Yeah, there you go. See, way forward. And trust me, like, I've got my son on skis for the first time, not a snowboard. Trust me, it's okay. It's working.
Let him choose.
I'm letting him go down that road. And I'm with them at T-ball, and I'm at these little sports. I'm like, I can fully be a part of this. This is great. And that finding the things that work for you to get there. Doing the GoRuck challenge. So that's actually where we left off before. Like, Reed enters our lives, and he pulls us into this world. He's like, I want to do this walk. I'm like, oh, I'm up for a challenge. What's that? TJ's up for a challenge. What does that look like? So, you've got, he's well, I'm going to come out to San Diego, and we're going to put 20 pounds in a backpack, and we're going to go walk for 50 miles.
That's it?
That's it.
We're going to do the rest of the day.
Yeah, 50 miles, no problem. And 20 pounds, no problem. He's like, yeah, you're going to do this thing called the Star Course. And you're going to walk from all these different points around San Diego. I'm like, oh, so it's like the ultimate tourist trip, right? You're gonna get to see all the different monuments around San Diego and go on this walk. It is the hardest 50 miles that I have done ever. I mean, like, I was seeing Jesus on that walk.
Well, the STAR model is based off of Special Forces selection, land navigation in Special Forces selection, and the defeating part is not only is it physically challenging, but the defeating part is the mental part, when you're like, oh, I'm going to start here, and then you go to a point, you get there, and then you realize that the point that you have to go to next is like back in the direction that you just came from.
Yeah.
And it gets even really worse when you start adding the short and the long legs, and then you start passing points that you're already at and going further than the direction that you just came from, and then it really starts messing with you.
Yeah. I've noticed that pattern. Yeah. In real life. So we do that. You've got 20 hours, I think, to finish 50 miles, and you're given all the different points, and it's called the Star Challenge. And we did it. And we did it inside the time hack, and we did it finished as a group, and it was a roller coaster in all the right ways. Like, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was ready to walk off and be done with it. I'm fucking out of here. This is stupid. All the thoughts that creep in. And then you got Reed coming in and being like, isn't this great? Like, isn't this the best thing ever? We're walking.
I told you this would be awesome, man.
Yep. And all of a sudden, you're like, you know what? Yes.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
Yeah, you could be in a cubicle and 50 stories in the sky somewhere in a big city.
You got it. And instead, we're here and we're outdoors and we're doing this great thing. And sure, it suffers. We're suffering, but it's neat, and we're seeing what we're made of.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're made of the stuff that can do that kind of a challenge. And you feed off each other, and you grow, and that community bond is, again, it's forged in those moments. And to think that we started a supplement brand that would lead me to a guy like Reed, who then would be in my life years later, like, that's the good stuff, man. Like, that's what it's all about. So yeah, being a part of here and being able to share what the brand is about, the charitable mission thing, like that's a funny component to, I think, any brand, because when you start with that being your cause, like, hey, 10% of profits is going to go to military charities, that's a different thought, right? That's not normal for dietary supplements. They're not known for being charitable.
Right.
In fact, it's one of the most uncharitable industries that I've ever noticed. And to give $100,000, we're at $130,000 donated so far.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, we can do way better than that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not looking at that like, that's amazing, thank you. I'm looking at it, I'm like, how can we level this up?
Right.
How can we charge it forward?
Do more.
And an event like this and meeting a community like this is exactly the tribe that I want to be a part of the BUBS family. And I want to be a part of their families. Like, and that's it's just the ability to do that, and of course help prepare them so they can do another ruck in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of our title sponsor is Jersey Mike's.
Yep.
And Jersey Mike's is all about charitable, the charitable giving, and how do we create the community. And they just raised last month. They gave 100% of revenue in one day to the Special Olympics, $20 million.
All locations.
All locations.
Go and buy a sandwich.
All locations globally, 100% of revenue, $20 million. And they're coming tomorrow. They're going to be here tomorrow with us, and they're doing sandwiches for everybody for lunch.
No kidding. All right, so I'm a big Jersey Mike's fan.
Well, come be here tomorrow.
It's as close as you can get to a good Italian sub.
I know.
Like, unless you're in Boston and you're getting a good Italian, and I'll grant it. I'll say it goes in Connecticut. This kind of states around New England. But getting the bread right
I know.
And getting all the layering right, like
Quality.
it's as good as you're gonna get, and they've scaled it.
Yeah.
So I'm a Jersey Mike's
Peter
fan.
Cancro's great. I mean, the CEO, and he's a great friend of the podcast, and one of our he was our first guest. And,
That's solid.
And he's been with us from the beginning and continues to support us. And I couldn't be more thankful to be partnered with them.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's good stuff because they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
And, like we started with that. We didn't know if anyone was going to care. Like, we're this little bootstrapped company, just like there's no mega dollars behind it. We just knew we could do it better. And I mean, quite frankly, if I was going to put Glen's name on the jar, and have a brand dedicated in his memory, like, I needed the best stuff we could get.
Gotta
the best in quality collagen, the best MCT, the best whatever it is that we make, and and the standards that I can represent that. So like, I chased Melissa Urban and Whole30. I mean, probably a little bit embarrassing, but no, I mean, I was banging down their door, just saying, like, guys, you got to give us a chance. Like, you're gonna love the quality in here. And so having a partnership with someone like that, NSF for Sport. So little known fact, we are the collagen provider for the Boston Red Sox.
Are you really? We had Jerry Remy on.
Oh,
So I grew up with his kids.
No
So
kidding.
Jordan, his middle son, is my best friend.
There you go.
And I was at the family funeral in the fall, and we were at we were in part of the honored to be part of the group that went, just did the family stuff after. But yeah, episode 3. So Peter Cancro, Jersey Mike's, episode 2, Jerry Remy, episode 3. I mean, the guy was like a father to me.
Yeah,
and instrumental in the starting of this podcast.
No
Because
kidding.
I called him up and was like, I want to start a podcast. And what's your advice? I got 2 questions for you. One, what's your advice? Because I studied journalism as an undergrad, and when I went to BU, but I haven't. I was in the Army, so I haven't done it. And so, how do I do it? And number 2, will you be one of my first guests? Because I know you. And he was like, here you go. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And this is everything I can tell you how you got to do it. And so so thankful to have him been in my life.
Yeah, man, and honestly, you've got that immortalized too. Like, you've got that conversation saved.
It's one of his
Everything
last
else is up here, but that one can be shared with the world. And I mean, I would argue for sports fans outside of New England, that's a good listen.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, we're rabid about our stuff. Make no mistakes, but that's a scalable one. Yeah, I mean, getting to do that, like knowing that we can take a brand and take a product and make sure that it's the cleanest, the best product that you can get, and scale that.
Right.
Like, that's important. And then share that message about what it's all about, because what it's about is getting outdoors. What it's about is having great adventures and being able to. And yeah, if you can get in the locker room of the Red Sox along the way, come on.
Love it.
So it's good stuff. Thank you. Thank you for being able
Thanks
to
for
talk
joining
about
me.
this.
So appreciate it, and appreciate you swinging by, sharing your story, and you talked about teams. Welcome to our Jedburgh team.
I appreciate that. Glad to be a part of it.
Sean, as we close out, the Jedburghs had to do 3 things every day as core foundational tasks. They had to be able to shoot, they had to be able to move, and they had to be able to communicate. If they did these 3 things with the utmost precision, then they could actually focus their effort on more complex challenges that came their way, because these were their daily foundational habits. What are the 3 things that you do every day to set the conditions for success in your world?
So it's actually, it's a great question to ask.
I ask every guest. So
I literally have 3 things that I do every morning when I wake up. So I wake up right around 6 a.m., a little bit earlier whenever the sun's coming up, but 6 a.m. is kind of like the lights are on in my head. And the first thing that I do every single morning is I meditate. And meditation is different for everyone. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. For me, it's a very active visual meditation. It's a Japanese style of meditation that I practice that is visually focused, and it's very much built around clearing your head. It's kind of like wiping the slate clean. So you ever go for a long run? And
it's the most cathartic thing that you can do.
This is the 6-minute slammed out version of that, and it is the longest 6 to 10 minutes, or it's the fastest. It depends where your head's at, but every day is different. Start the day with that, because no matter what happens after that, I've built part 1 of that foundation. Part 2 is...
Can I ask you a question first, though? And I normally don't do this. I normally don't actually stop and delve deep into the answers to these sometimes, but meditation has come up a lot in conversations we've had, and you've just positioned meditation in a way that forces me to ask you this question.
Sure.
How do you meditate? What actually goes through your mind? Because so people, like you have said, that this has changed their life.
Yes.
And I ask this question because I know people listen to these conversations and they're like, oh, that's stupid. What does that mean? I don't know how to do it. How do you do it?
No problem. So one, let's eliminate the whole idea that meditation is some woo-woo crap.
Right, yeah,
okay?
exactly.
You got to eliminate that. You spend all day in your head. Is your head running you, or are you running your head? Think about how you respond to a situation or how you react to a situation. Hey, someone comes up running at you and screaming. Do you react to it, or do you respond to it? Now, I want to build a life where I'm responding to situations, because that means I'm taking a moment, I'm giving pause, I'm taking in more data, and I'm able to respond, which means I'm able to analyze and see what's going on around me. If I react, I'm going to react with emotion. I'm going to react with, most likely 9 times out of 10, the wrong reaction.
Right.
Whereas if I respond, it's a little bit more calculated. So think about that in the context of business. You get an email and someone pisses you off. They say all the wrong things.
Yeah.
I could fire back a quick fuck you, right? I could respond and say anything horrible. I just reacted. If I take a moment and I look at it and I breathe and I soak it in, I have those moments to give pause, then I can respond to it. Meditation is a tool that helps me respond, not react. So that's why I do it, right? The why is super important. I use meditation as a tool to help me succeed in my day. I'm a reactionary person. I'm fast, I'm impulsive, I'm going, like I'm starting businesses, I'm a snowboarder, I'm jumping off cliffs. This allows me to be a little bit more calculated. Okay, well now how do I do that? Well, the meditation that I practice, it's a Japanese meditation, it's called Zazen, and it's a very visual active. So you're not closing your eyes, you're not going into like hippie state. So I kneel down on a mat, and I visually focus. I have a window right in my bedroom, and I look outside my window, and there's a palm tree directly outside my window. And there's one little spot on that palm tree that I focus on. So every time I breathe in, I'm looking exactly at that one little dark mark on that palm tree. And every time I breathe out, I'm opening my field of vision. So are there things happening in the periphery? Is there a little hummingbird flying by? Is there this happening? Is there that happening? I'm just allowing those things to happen. But what I'm really doing is I'm clearing my head. Now, on minute 1, maybe some thought pops in. I have an email to write. What about this contact I'm supposed to reach out to? This thing that needs to get done. And you gently kind of push those thoughts aside. And the whole point is you're trying to get to a truly empty state. Well, if you can succeed in doing that for even 10, 15 seconds out of maybe a 5 or 10 minute session, it's game on.
That's success.
That's success.
Yeah.
It happens in the briefest moments, and then you realize it like, oh, I just went 20 seconds. Or you can't really put time on it, but you went through those moments, and those moments allow you to then respond. You had that empty moment. All the busyness of life wasn't rattling in, and you were able to just say, okay, I've got a clear head. Now, I live at home with my wife, who's a morning newscaster. So she leaves the house at 3:30 in the morning, every morning, to go and be on the morning news.
Awesome job. Dream job for me, by the way.
She's a journalist.
Yeah, I was a journalist. Like, I wanted to be Tom Brokaw. Like, that was my hero. Nightly news for him, but morning newscaster. Oh,
yeah,
I love that.
She loves. So she's a Swiss Army knife in that. Like, she goes in for weather. She's an anchor. She does feature reporting. Awesome. Like, you name it. So, but Monday through Friday, I get the kids the moment she leaves. We have a 4 and a 6-year-old, and until the nanny shows up and there's a quick transition, then I take them off to school. So I want to get the most out of that time. And I do this meditation 9 times out of 10 before they're awake. So that's habit number 2. Wait, are we gone?
Nope, we're still on 1.
Is that on 1?
No,
okay,
meditation was 1.
Number 2.
2.
Make the bed.
Okay.
Remember the whole like McRaven make your bed thing?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that till later, but when I make the bed, I am performing a task and I'm completing that task. As simple as that task is, I'm getting one in the bank. Doesn't matter if you're folding laundry, doesn't matter if you're doing the dishes, whatever your thing is, find that task and do it before the complex tasks kick in for the day. Now, after the bed's made, the kids are awake, like it's, you know,
Yeah,
then
now
the
chaos
starts,
is coming,
right?
yeah.
The third thing that I do is I make a warm glass of lemon water before I drink anything else. So lemon water and warm, like two things go hand in hand.
Why?
A warm glass of lemon water balances out your pH. So you're building up all this acidity, like, you know, as you're sleeping overnight, and it just levels that playing field. So now I've done 3 things to start my day before I have fired off a bunch of emails and like made the pot of coffee and like dealt with the kids getting all chaotic. You're just putting them in the bank. One is physical. One you could argue is spiritual if you want to be all woo-woo. I look at it as problem solving, and one's physical. So after that, there's fitness, there's, you know, the rest of it. The way our family life is designed, I usually get my fitness in the afternoon. I'm waiting for when the kids are old enough to where, like, I don't have to worry about them, like, waking up from a nightmare or peeing the bed or doing the things to where I can have a great morning fitness routine, and I'll add that in. But those 3 things right there represent, you know, different touch points in your life, and they're just a foundation for success. They work.
Awesome. Wake up early, meditate to clear your head, make the bed to perform, and the warm glass of lemon water. I'm going to try those.
It works.
I really am. I like all those. Sean, we talk about the 9 characteristics of performance as defined by Special Operations Forces, and we mentioned them at various points in this conversation: drive, resiliency, adaptability, humility, integrity, curiosity, team ability, emotional strength, and effective intelligence. At the end of these episodes, very often I want to put into context the conversation we had, because your story makes me think of one of these, and is so prevalent in my mind, this concept of team ability. And the reason is elite performers exhibit all of these characteristics at different times, not all at once, you can't, but the different situations that you're in will allow you to have to draw on certain ones of these. Your career, your life growing up with Glen, the relationship that you had, the loss that you experienced with him, how you've now moved in to a position to start something that is giving back to his legacy, and have embraced the community that you were both a part of, and have embraced not only your end of the community, but his end of the community, and taken that on, is something that is unique and often unheard of. But that comes back to team ability, the bond that you had with Glen, the commitment that you had, and the word and dedication that you gave that said, I will never forget his memory and what he gave to this world. And you continue to do that in his legacy while you define yours. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for exhibiting these characteristics, but I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks, man. That means the world to me. That was, that's good stuff. I mean, it's a really unique opportunity, I think, and I say the word opportunity because grief hits people in different ways. Loss hits people in different ways. And, you know, this wasn't scripted. This wasn't part of a master plan. It was like, came a little bit from the gut, a little bit from the mind, a lot from shared relationships and people and community. And yeah, man, I mean, it warms me up inside. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers. Hell yeah, man. Don't catch me by surprise like that. Get me all misty-eyed. That's not fair. Damn.
It's true, man.
You know,
no, it's true.
It's funny because, like, I never in a million years would have thought, you know, one, Glen was going to die, right? Like, we're freaking immortal. Like, we're leaving our wills to each other, popping bottles of wine, and, like, You're like, yeah, man. Like, you have fun. Yeah, you do. And it wasn't real until it was real. Yeah. And then you go to Dover. You know, I send the family to Dover. We fly to Boston. We do the whole memorial. We hatch this plan, Glenn's sister, myself, some buddies from high school, about a foundation that literally personifies solving the problems that Glenn didn't solve for. It felt so good when we were able to hand out those first couple scholarships.
Yeah.
Like, we're just a small part in changing someone's life, but the feedback loop. And all of a sudden, I'm like, this feels so good. Like, I didn't expect this. Like, from that loss, helping someone else, like, fill the bucket. And I've only felt that in 2 professional times in my life. Doing that, like, being able to help others through the charitable giving, and coaching. Yep. Like, physical coaching. Like, you know, I was a CrossFit coach at Seal Fit with Glenn, and you had this, like, real bond with watching someone improve human performance. And it was like simple things, like seeing a house mom do her first pull-up. But it was like the most memorable thing of her pride.
But it changed her life.
Changed her life. And I mean, I have a specific mom in mind who I'll never forget, like, thanking me years later, like, I did it. And I'm like, no, you did it.
Yeah.
And to be a part of that journey has been amazing. And then now to have BUBS, to be able to help and kind of like scale that message out is, you know, beyond my wildest dreams. Like, to be able to share that and go through, you know, the challenges and those triumphs and see it positively affect people's lives, and see more scholarships get handed out, see like that machine really start to get up and running, it's epic. I'm stoked on it. So
it's a tremendous amount of impact.
Yeah, it's neat stuff. I mean, again, I didn't think I was going to be the guy doing that. That was not in the plan. But if there's one thing I've learned in my career of anything since high school, it's, you're not really going according to the plan anyways. So,
which is fine. The new plan's often better.
That's it, man.
I would have never expected I'd be here in the back of a World War II ambulance at a GoRuck event, interviewing people and having super meaningful conversations about how they're changing people's lives, changing the world. So,
it's awesome. Good stuff. And I mean, like, you take that back to your day job and it energizes you. You take that back. It's like we were talking about earlier, like, everyone around is like, don't you ever get tired?
No.
You know, like, there's physical tired, if that's what you mean, but there's a whole nother gear inside of us that, you know, you power through, and it's on display here this weekend. Like, it's on display with everyone out there.
And it's gratifying when people walk by and you hear them. You know, I mean, I can sit here and hear them and have conversations. And everyone who walks by, and it's like, that's awesome. Yeah. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. And you're just like, yes, like, we did it. Or it's cooling down. I got all sorts of things. Hell yeah, man. I got one more thing for you here.
Okay.
This is just a card, a thank you card from me.
Oh, sweet.
Just a hand note. But also, more importantly, I want to give you our coin. And so this is our Jedburgh podcast challenge coin. And I know you've probably come across military challenge coins in the past.
Yes.
But this coin is very important because, well, not only is it the Jedburgh podcast coin, but this is a unique one, and there's only one of these in the world, because your episode is going to be number 62, and this one has your episode number on it.
All right.
So there are many coins in the world given by a lot of people, but very few of them are actually personalized. All right. Military challenge coins are given in recognition of excellence, and they're given to signify affiliation to a unit or a community. And so with our logo and our 9 characteristics of elite performance, and on the outside here, it says our tagline, how you prepare today determines success tomorrow. I welcome you to our Jedburgh team.
Yeah, I thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is fantastic.
American Jedburghs went on to form the foundation of the United States Special Forces and the Special Activities Directorate of the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks for listening to the Jedburgh podcast. I'm your creator and host, Fran Racioppi. Join us next week for a new episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube for full episodes, highlights, and other behind-the-scenes content. If you like what you heard, give us a like and leave a review. Follow me, Fran Racioppi, Talent War Group, and our sponsor Jersey Mike Subs on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Send your comments and inquiries to media@talentwargroup.com. As former members of Special Operations Forces, the Jedburgh Podcast and Talent War Group contribute a percentage of all profits to Special Operations Warrior Foundation, supporting the families of our fallen warriors. Thanks for joining us on this episode. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.